Hey guys, this is Sean Watts. Welcome to this video. In a lot of videos we talk about your 5 options when you're sued by a debt collector. Midland Funding, Portfolio, Jefferson Capital, Calvary, whoever it might be. And so I'm not going to repeat all that, but what I want to do is just let's think through when would we use these various options. So if you know what the options are, and again, those very quickly: file bankruptcy, fight it on your own, settle it on your own, hire a lawyer to fight it, hire a lawyer to settle it. So we know what those options are. How do you pick which one works for you? That's what I want to chat with you about. And this is a conversation that I've had, I can't tell you how many times, where we're talking to somebody, maybe they're sued for a small amount of money, maybe they're sued for a large amount of money, but we still go through this conversation. So when would we consider bankruptcy? Well, and when I say bankruptcy, I really mean Chapter 7. That's where you wipe out that portfolio recovery, you wipe out Midland, whoever it is, you wipe it out, okay? Well, bankruptcy is really your last option, okay? It's sort of the trump card you have up your sleeve, and you put that down and just sort of blow everything up, okay? And so we don't use that when we say, wow, I've hit some hard times, but I'm in a positive upward direction. Well, we don't need to do bankruptcy then. If we say, I can see the light at the end of the tunnel, and I'm really sure it's not a train, okay? I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. Well, we don't need to do bankruptcy. Bankruptcy is really when everything is sort of closing in on us and we go, no matter what I do, there's no way out of this, okay? And particularly when outside of this lawsuit, so Midland Funding sued you for $5,000 or LVMV sued you for $3,000. Put that aside because you might can beat that. Are you still feeling the walls closing in and bankruptcy is just the best option? And then if you say, I think bankruptcy is the best option, we'll talk to a bankruptcy attorney. Okay. Now, I can chat with people about sort of the basics of it, but I always say, go talk to a bankruptcy attorney. Okay. Because I'm not, an expert in bankruptcy. Okay. But by the same token, don't talk to a bankruptcy lawyer about what are your odds of winning if you fight the case. That's not what they do. They do bankruptcy, okay? So talk to that bankruptcy lawyer and say, hey, will I lose my house? Will I lose my savings? Will I lose fill in the blank? What will this do to my spouse? Understand all the consequences of it. I mean, some consequences are obvious, right? It's terrible for our credit report. It stays on our credit report for a number of years. But beyond that, are you going to lose your house? Are you going to lose your car? I mean, I have people that they say, John, I've been sued. I sort of feel like everything's closing again. I'm just going to file bankruptcy. And I say, well, how much equity do you have in your house? They go, it doesn't matter. My house is protected. Now, that may be true in Florida. In Alabama, it's very little amount of equity you can protect. And people are just shocked by that. They go, no, this is my homestead. There's no way they can take my house. My house is paid for. I've got $100,000 equity, whatever it is. I'm totally protected. Not in Alabama. Okay. So again, don't assume. Talk to the lawyer. Even if you're in Florida, talk to the lawyer. Make sure that if you do bankruptcy, you understand all the costs, all the consequences. But usually when I go through these options, 90% of people are like, I don't want to do bankruptcy. I've already thought about it. I've investigated. I don't want to do it. Okay. But if you're like, maybe I'll do it, well, just put it off to the side, okay? Come back to it and say, okay, what about fighting it on my own? The advantage is I don't have to pay money to a lawyer. The downside is I don't have a lawyer. So are you willing to spend time to get ready? We talked about this in other videos. You either spend money or you spend time. If my car doesn't work, I spend money to fix it or I spend time to fix it myself. There is no, magic genie that just goes, oh, no time, no money, boom, it's magically fixed. That doesn't work, at least not in my world. So if you're not going to spend money hiring a lawyer or settling a case, are you willing to spend the time? Well, time to do what? Figure out how you file an answer or other response to the lawsuit, when you have to file that, where you file it, how you file it, and then what happens next. Do you file the answer and then you go to trial? Some places are like that. But there are other states where you file an answer and your trial may be 18 months away. There may be a dozen steps in between. Do you understand all those steps? Are you prepared to learn those steps, know what to do? And then when you get to trial, are you prepared to spend the time to understand the rules of evidence, understand the arguments, prepare yourself for this? And not just, understanding the rules, but are you willing to go do it? Sometimes I have people say, John, I'm not going to spend any money on this, and I could go down there and I could do it better than any lawyer could do it. I go, well, that's great. They go, but I just don't have time to do it. I'm like, okay, so you need to go another option. No, I'm better than any lawyer, and I'm not paying these jokers any money, and I could kick them around 10 times out of 10. Well, then go to your trial. I don't have time. I got too much on me. Well, see, you've got to make a choice. Either we're spending money or we're spending time. And if we say we're doing it on our own, understand the judge is going to expect you to be a lawyer. Now, I don't mean that in an unfair, unkind way, but you can't come in, for example, summary judgment. That's typically called Rule 56. And people go, well, I didn't understand the rules. I didn't know there was a deadline to respond. I didn't know I had to have my evidence in a certain format or it would be completely rejected. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know that. Well, if you're representing yourself, you have to sort of become a lawyer, okay? And understand that, at least in Alabama, in every state I know of, you can't appear for your spouse. So you can't say, well, my husband's not really much of a public speaker. I'm a fabulous public speaker. I love arguing. I'll go handle the case for him. You can't do that unless you're a lawyer. Well, my wife, she's got some health problems. She doesn't really want to be there in court, all the stress. I'll go handle it for her. No, unless you're a lawyer. So if you're choosing that option of fighting it on your own, just make sure you understand what's involved. Now, we have all sorts of resources, particularly videos. We have some books that can help people sued in Alabama. But you still have to do the work, okay? And you can't just rely on what we give you. You've got to go find out about your judge and his or her tendencies and how they like to run their courtroom and put in the work. There's no substitute. I wish there was just, magic button you could push, snap your fingers, and you don't have to spend any money, you don't have to spend any time. That's not the real world, okay? What about settling on your own? The great advantage is you don't have to pay a lawyer, and if you settle it, you don't have to go to court, okay? And it's certainly true in Alabama. Settlement discussions are protected. In other words, if you talk to Midland about paying them money, that doesn't mean that they can bring that up at trial and say, well, he offered 25 cents on the dollar, 75 cents on the dollar, so therefore he admits he owes it. No, that's not how it works. So you can do this. But again, understand if you're doing it on your own, you have to spend the time and understand the process. So sort of picture two trains, rolling down the tracks here. This is your deadline to respond. This is your settlement. A lot of people say, well, I'm going to forget about this because I'm going to talk to that lawyer about settling. Well, you know what? This train is still moving and you get to your deadline to answer and you don't answer, boom, they'll hit you with the default judgment, even though you're talking to them. I think it's kind of dirty to do that, but they can do it. And say, hey, this guy, this gal, they were served. The deadline's passed. They have not responded. And then you're scrambling and go, but, I was talking to them or I was waiting on an email back and I assumed that put a stop to it. No, don't make those assumptions, okay? So you still have to protect yourself even if you're going to settle it. And then settling it, how much are you going to pay? I'll tell you, typically when a debt buyer sues you, and there's obviously a lawyer involved, when they sue you, they're looking at 75 cents on the dollar in most places. Now, will some dip down a little bit? Sure. Will some require more? Yeah. 75 cents on the dollar in a lump sum. Now, I know I'll get comments. People go, oh, this lawyer's crazy. I just settled a case, that was from 15 years ago, and I settled it for 10 cents on the dollar. Well, was it a lawsuit? Well, no. Well, was it past statute of limitation? Well, yeah. Okay, well, that's different. If they sue you and they have a legitimate lawsuit, this is typically what we see them ask for, whether they're suing you for 20 grand or 2 grand or $500. Okay. Now, maybe you can negotiate them down a little bit. So you have to get a settlement where you know exactly what you're paying, when it's due. Okay. It doesn't do you any good to pay it late. How they want it paid. They may say it has to be in a certified check. You give them a personal check. You didn't meet the terms of the settlement. You just voluntarily gave them money, but you haven't settled your case. And then what happens after you pay? Are they going to dismiss it without prejudice? That's not good. With prejudice? That's good. What are they doing with your credit report? Is it going to stay on your report or is it coming off? Sometimes people say, well, I think I read somewhere on a website that once you pay it, they'll take it off. That doesn't bind them. You need to know for your particular company, have they told you specifically, we'll take it off your credit report? If they don't, then don't make that assumption. Okay. Now, I'll say this. Once you pay them, even if they don't take it off your credit report, it should be a zero balance. A lot of times they mess this up. So you can dispute that with the credit bureaus. Hey, it should be a zero balance. And they don't put it that way, then you sue them. Okay. Or if it's a debt collector, you may let them rock along for a couple months, see if they're going to do the right thing. You may sue them under the FDCPA, Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. But the point is, you have to understand about credit reporting. You have to understand about taxes. Okay. So you're sued for, let's say, 20 grand. You say, I don't want to hire a lawyer. I'm just going to pay him 15 grand. Well, probably you're getting a 1099 for $5,000. The difference between 20 and 15, that's debt forgiveness. $5,000 worth of income. You pay taxes on it. So are you aware of that? And are you taking steps to try to minimize that? Or are you just not thinking about it, and the next January or the following January, you get hit with this nasty surprise? So you got to understand that. What I would say to you on fighting it on your own, settling it on your own, fighting on your own is mainly when you don't have money to hire a lawyer or settle it. Okay. And you have a lot of time on your hands. Settling it on your own, obviously you're spending money. And I'll just tell you, for my firm, you're spending more money settling it than you would pay us to make it go away. Okay. But the real reason people do that is they say, I want to be in control of it. I want all the responsibility. And I don't say that in a negative way. Sometimes we go, look, I don't want to trust somebody else. Maybe I got burned by a divorce lawyer or whoever, but I want to handle it on my own. Okay. Make sure you have the time, because now you're spending money and time and effort to make sure that you understand that settlement. All the terms of the settlement. Make sure you comply with terms of settlement. Make sure then that the debt collector is doing the right thing on taxes and on credit reporting. Well, what about the last two options where you hire a lawyer to either fight it or settle it? Well, first step is you need to know exactly how much is this going to cost. And then be able to compare that to what will it cost me to fight on my own? Well, zero, unless I lose, then I owe the whole judgment. Okay. How about settle on my own? How does the fee compare? Okay. And then how about the time commitment? Are you hiring a lawyer and then you're still filing your own answer? You're still going to court. Well, then why are you hiring the lawyer? Okay. So presumably if you're hiring the lawyer will say, hey, I'll take care of filing the answer. I'll take care of negotiating with the other side. I'll take care of court. Now, maybe you need to be there, talk to your lawyer about it, okay, if it tries. But hiring a lawyer is really when you say, I don't have the time or the energy to do this on my own. And I think the lawyer has greater expertise in dealing with this. So that might lead you to the conclusion, maybe I don't want to hire a lawyer who this is their first case, or their fifth case, or their 20th case. Maybe you do. Maybe you don't. Maybe you say, well, what kind of success rate have you had? Have you dealt with, fill in the blank, Midland, Portfolio, Calvary, Jefferson Capital, Unifund, whoever it might be? Have you dealt with this company before? Have you dealt with this collection law firm before? How about in this county? I'll say this. Most lawyers sort of only operate in their immediate counties. My firm for, I don't know, a decade or more, we've taken these cases all over the state of Alabama. So we've literally been in every county. Okay. But if you're dealing with somebody else, still ask them, hey, Are you familiar with this county or with that county, wherever you've been sued? And it doesn't mean that they have to be, but that all goes into how do you decide if this is the right lawyer? The biggest thing I can tell you, though, is you want to feel comfortable with that lawyer and confident in that lawyer, where you can say, when you hire them, you sort of go, okay, that's a load off my shoulders. I know they're handling it now. And I feel very confident that they'll handle it the right way. And then as you talk to them, say, what's the plan? Okay, I was sued for 10 grand. Are we paying any money? Do you expect to pay Midland Portfolio, whoever, money? Or are you expecting to try the case or expecting to settle the case where everybody goes their separate ways and I pay no money to the debt buyer? Like, what's the plan here? And if the lawyer goes, whoa, 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 I can't tell you anything until you give me the money. I mean, make your own choice. To me, that's weird. Okay? It's very reasonable and rational and logical to ask the lawyer, before I hire you and turn this over to you, tell me the plan. And if the lawyer says, oh, no, I keep this hidden behind a wall until you pay me, then I'll reveal the plan. Well, what if the plan is we're going to pay $9,999? Well, what do you need the lawyer for, right? So what's the plan? And is this lawyer confident in what he or she is telling you that they can execute this plan? Okay. And then figure out the cost. So what's the cost of the lawyer? If money's being paid to the debt collector, what amount is that? You sort of add that up. Well, how does that compare to you doing it on your own? What's your time commitment? Okay. If it's going to be, oh, you're going to be spending 20, 30 hours on this, well, then how does that compare with you doing it on your own, spending your own time with it? Okay. So you just think through these. What we find is the people that hire us are typically saying, I don't want to go to court, or I don't have time. I'm working, I'm in school, I've got kids. I just don't have time to do this. Or maybe I've got time, I just don't want to mess with it. I want this done right. I want this to never bother me again. I want this to come off my credit report. I don't want to deal with taxes. I mean, whatever it is, just decide what's important to you, and then that will help you. Usually for most people, out of those 5 options, bankruptcy, fight it on your own, settle it on your own, hire a lawyer to fight it, hire a lawyer to settle. Generally, you get that down to about 2 options. And then what I tell people is, I say, look, both these options, if this is true, are legitimate options. I mean, either one is fine. You know the pros and the cons, the good and the bad of each option. Now, if you've got time, sleep on it a day or two. And if we're talking on Tuesday, I'll say, you know what, when you wake up Thursday morning, you're going to know what to do. You're going to have a gut feeling. I'm doing this on my own. I'm hiring a lawyer. Whatever your gut feeling is, go with it. And don't second guess. Don't look back. Understand, somebody's going to call you, well, my second cousin 3 times removed in Idaho, they said that you should have gone the other way. You know what? With all due respect to whoever that cousin is, wherever they are, their opinion doesn't matter. Because you've been sued, you've done the hard work of going through those 5 options. You've spoken with a lawyer about it. You understand the pros and the cons, the exact cost. I'll say this. On the cost, let me just say this. I would be very skeptical of doing an hourly rate because you don't know how long that's going to be unless the lawyer can say, this is exactly how long it will be. I would look for a flat fee, a fixed fee, where you know exactly what it's going to be. Because that way you can now compare, apples to apples here. Well, I'll have to pay this much if I settle, pay this much if I hire the lawyer, pay this much in settlement if your lawyer's paying a settlement to these people. And so you know all that information. So now it's just deciding, well, which is the best one. And so I hope this video, I know it's a little bit different, but this is really similar to what we go through when we talk with people on the phone and they go, well, I just don't know which option to take. And look, there are plenty of people where we talk to them and I say, you know what? The best option for you is to fight this on your own. And let me give you some resources to help you. Look, I I think I'm a nice guy. Okay. So if somebody can do it on their own, I want them to do that. Even if I say, I think it'd be better if you hire me, but you can totally handle this on your own. I want them to be successful because I think I'm a nice guy. But here's the sort of, selfish reason. I want them to go beat this debt collector and then tell me about it and then talk about, hey, can we sue this debt collector? Can we do some disputes on our credit reports and this doesn't get fixed, and then we can really sue them and hammer them in a case? Those are fabulous conversations to have, okay? So I want people to only hire my firm, and I would say this is true of other consumer lawyers, only hire a consumer lawyer when it's absolutely in your best interest to do that. And if you do this on your own, for people in Alabama, I can directly help them. But I have all sorts of resources to help you. Now, it's on you. You've got to do that settlement on your own. You've got to go try the case. I don't wear the black robes. I don't control whether the judge is going to rule against you. But I want you to be as successful as possible so that whichever of these 5 options you choose, look, even if you choose bankruptcy, make sure you come back to a consumer lawyer. If you're in Alabama, come back to me and let's look at your credit reports, because a lot of times those are messed up after bankruptcy. And so it's really important to do that. So I want you to be successful. I want you to pick the best option out of those 5, the very best option for you. And I hope this video has been helpful. And appreciate you guys watching, and I'll talk to you soon. All right, have a good one. Bye-bye.